So how do you make thousands of versions of the same test? Well, there's really a simple process to go through. The first step is to start with a list of discrete objectives. So this is a list of discrete objectives that I had for my chemistry course. And so what I did is I had a list of gases, objective 1, gases. People don't understand how gases differ from solids, liquids, and gases and pressure. And then we created a video. But the key on this is that you want to create questions that assess this objective, and then objective 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that is the first step at creating this. Now what I'd like to do is I'd like to show you how to do this using Moodle. Moodle is a open source learning management system that would work. This will work very similar in other learning management systems, but let me show you how you would do this in a learning management system like Moodle. The first step is I would click here to questions, and then I would have to create questions. So now I'm actually in an Earth and Space Science course. And so what I have done is that I have, say, chapter 1.2, and I've created for each objective, I've created sets of questions. So let's go to this one, 1.2.4. I have written 6 or 7 questions that assess this objective about the effects of plate tectonics. The key is to create this batch of questions. So I have, whatever it is, 7 questions. If I'd like to add a new one, I simply just say create a new question here. I can say I want an essay question, a matching questions, or let's just do the simplest, lowest hanging fruit multiple choice question. I type in the question name, I fill out the blank, etc. So the key is to create this relatively large bank of questions. Now that you have the questions, what you want to do is you want to go back and actually create the test. Let's go back to this chart here that we saw a minute ago. And of course, what I've done is for each objective, I've written a number of questions. Let's say 6 or 7 questions each, or 10. Whatever it is you want to create questions for each. And then they go into these folders. The folders that we just saw there, for lack of a better term, is these questions. It's not technically a folder, at least in here, but it's a subset. So I've got the chapter 1.2, and I've got like essentially a folder for each of these questions. Now what I'd like to do is I want to create a test. So I had to turn the editing on there. I'm going to add an activity, and the activity is going to be, in their case, a quiz. As I add a quiz, I can call this quiz name plate tectonics or something like that. And I've got lots of features. How many minutes do I want them to do this? All right, kids can only take the test for 45 minutes. I remember one thing that I'd always do is I would make sure that there was a password for the test, otherwise kids would cheat. So, so here's the password. We're going to say it's Raptor. I can say save and display. But see, this question, I still have no questions in this test. But now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick, watch this, this is really, really cool. What I can do is I can choose from a batch of questions, 1.2.1, taking a ride on a lithospheric plates. There are 9 questions. I'm going to randomly let it pick one question from there. And you see over here, I've randomly picked a question from that section. 1. I can now go to 1.2.2. That's the system that I had. And I'm going to randomly have it pick on, let's say, 2 of the 8 questions. Do you see now I've got 3 questions in my test? Are you seeing how this works? And I can just choose 1.2.3. I have a 3A and a 3B. The reason I did that is I felt like there were 2 really important types of questions that I wanted to access, the kids to access. So I wrote 2 different, so I created 2 folders. There's also the B one here, and I click add. And I would just continue this process, and they're just randomly appearing over there, aren't they? Yeah. The test is done, so I can go back to my course, by the way. And if I go back to my course go back to my course here, and I'm going to turn editing off so that you can see this. Now right here we have this test called plate tectonics. I click here, preview the quiz. It has a time limit. I'm sure okay with that. I type in the password, and let me type it in. And here is the test. And it's a random test. So if I were to take this test again, or a student were to take this test again, they would, of course, get a different test. So that's how you make thousands of versions of the same test relatively easily. And I'm John Bergmann. Follow me at johnbergmann.com.